Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me on this next video. I hope the sound quality is better than this. I'd like to apologise. That last video I probably shouldn't have done that. I wasn't feeling the best. I've wanted to record this for a few days, but it's been difficult. So it's just like getting over the flu really. I'm there now though. It's almost day 10, so I can obviously press on and try and get recording again as I've promised. As you can see for the title of the video, obviously the UK is fallen. I mean, I don't want people thinking he's been out the UK 5 minutes and now he's already said it's fallen. I've been saying it's fallen for quite a while, basically since this channel started, and like I've just given out advice on what you can do to make things better for yourself. And like this Tommy Robinson guy, which I'll go into later in the video, people asked me at the start of this journey to contact him, and I was never going to do that. And it wouldn't have mattered if I did. He probably wouldn't go back, but that doesn't matter. It wouldn't have mattered if I thought he did. It's not the kind of person that you want to sort of be affiliating yourself with. Now, I know that will make a lot of people angry at me saying that, because they think that he stands for their freedom, and he most certainly does not. If they think that he's going to stand for the country, the guy has been compromised in so many different ways by so many different think tanks for so long now that it's hard to believe that he stands for anything positive. And then you look at his background, starting the English Defence League, or nothing more than a group of football hooligans. And I'll go into his demonstration later in the video, because there's some stuff I've reminded myself about. I'd known about it before. I'd actually said probably a year ago, but now I was going to do a video on Tommy Robinson. And obviously you get caught up and confidence gets low sometimes if you're not recording. You need to be confident in anything you do, and if you're not going to record. But the reason I'm saying the UK is falling, because it's been made to be that way. It's been opened up, and the proof for that lies right here in the country I sit in at the moment. Now, I'm in Thailand just now, and I've obviously got a brother here, and I know a few other people from back home here as well who are in relationships with Thai people, and I'll go into that in a second about what they need to do to get to the bloody UK. But I just want to talk about the grilling that I got from the Thai immigration in Bangkok. Now, obviously I was almost 14 hours on a plane, not to mention the transfers and the waiting at the airport. So you're probably talking the better part of 20 hours by the time you get to Bangkok. And you obviously need to do a TDAC thing to get into the country for 90 days. You've got to give a reason why you're here, and obviously with me learning language, I thought I'll just put language. And I was going to just put in for 6 months to January. And I tried to get put through, and they took one look at me, and they thought, no, I don't think, I don't know what they were thinking, I don't know what they were saying, I don't understand their language, but they wanted, before I knew it, I had 7 officials around me, 2 of them of which looked quite bigwigs. One of them was a woman who was so distasteful that I think she actually probably belongs in North Korea. However, that being said, maybe if we employed some of these policies with regards to our immigration, then maybe not so many people would want to come in and disrespect the country. Now, this officials took one look at me and thought, there's no way this person's here to learn language, she's here to organise crime, which is just nonsense. But that's the way they would probably look at that, because I mean, I don't look like somebody that would probably want to learn a language, even though I do. Before I knew it, I got I had a padlock on my suitcase. It was cut open, everything was turned upside down. There was a pair of trainers missing out that must have fell out, and they never put them back in, which is obviously fine. But it was quite a rigorous process. It went on for quite a while. At one point I was standing with 7 of them around me, and I was actually wondering if I was even going to get into the country. And at that point I was so bloody tired, and so I just wanted to get where I was going, that I wouldn't actually have cared if they placed me on a plane and sent me back at that particular moment in time. And I'm obviously glad they didn't. I got through it. They eventually accepted the fact, because they kept asking me, why do you want to come to this country? And I said, well, I've heard it's a beautiful country, I want to learn about it. How do you know it's a beautiful country? And I said, well, I know people that's been here. My brother lives here. Who's your brother? I said, well, I don't think you'll know him. And what other? She said something about my mum because I'd said that she'd been here. And where's the rest of your family? I said, well, they're obviously back in the UK. What do you do for a job? And I explained that I worked for Scottish Water, repairing reservoirs. I put it across to her, like, drinking water that you drink. Well, the British government provides their citizens with clean drinking water. You do understand? And I was starting to get quite cheeky with her because it's not in my nature to take it. Like I say, at that point I didn't really care. But like I say, eventually I got in, and that was that. And it's weird because I was trying to book a flight at Glasgow Airport because I'd only booked to Bangkok, and yet I was coming to Phuket, and I was trying to book it on the way through and onto the plane in Glasgow, and it just wouldn't, like, the bank wouldn't let me do it. Because it was going for a different country, because I'd done it through a Thai airline. And it's just as well I didn't, because if I had booked that flight for the time I wanted it, I'd have missed it because of what happened at immigration. So it's really weird how these synchronicities kind of start to work out. Now, when I obviously finally got here, it was just a complete change. It was everything's just totally different. You have to respect the culture here. If you don't respect the culture here, you're going to run into problems very, very quickly. Now, how many people that come into Britain respect the culture of Britain? None of them do, really. I wouldn't say none of them do, but the vast majority of people don't. Not only do they not respect the culture, they want to tear it down and replace it with their own. Now, if you had our type of people coming here to try and do that here, you're absolutely no chance. Now, they say this is a dangerous place and it's mafia run, etc. Now, I've always said, if that's the case, I would rather we were run by mafiosos, because at least we would know where we stand. When it's the government, the Labour government, any government, are wolves in sheep's clothing. Now, that's a far more terrifying situation than being governed by a mafioso, and the proof of that lies right here. Because even though there's poverty, and I've been around the shanty towns and I appreciate the cleanliness of our country, the values here are very, very different. And that's why the vast majority of people come and respect it. It's why they stopped weed here, because people were just coming over and smoking it in the street and invading the Thai people's places, so that the government stopped it and put it into the shops only. But why, if it can work here, why can't it work there, where we are? Now, immigrants, when they come into our country, regardless of status or who they are or what country they come from, they are given instant respect for no other reason than they're an immigrant, because the woke side of the Labour Party demands that you do so. Now, I was always told you need to earn respect. And I've worked with people recently that didn't earn respect, yet they got it anyway, and then themselves became disrespectful, because that's what happens. Now, I've come in here, like I say, I've been absolutely grilled by... I was honestly, when I was ill, all I could think about was lying in Scotland in my bed, and it was really difficult. It really was, but like I say, I'm through it now, so we might as well start carrying on. Now, as I was saying before, the proof that the UK has been opened up to fall lies right here in Thailand. Now, I was recently having a conversation with my brother about this, and he was telling me about his friend who has a girlfriend here. And he's from back home, and he wanted to take her back to Scotland. Now, to say the process to get this girl back to Scotland was rigorous was the understatement, probably one of the biggest understatements I've ever heard in my life. Now, the Thai UK Home Office, they demanded proof where this girl was going to be staying. The boy had to get letters for his mum to say that she was going to be putting her up in her home, clothing her, while he was going to be working, supplying for her as well. They even made them take photos of the bloody cupboards that our clothes were going to be kept in, right? And here's the thing, that didn't suffice. That wasn't sufficient. Non-satisfactory, denied. She's not been to Scotland yet because she's been denied. Don't have to give a reason. Now, Stephen had said about his girlfriend, he said, well, if that's the case, why would I bother going through that rigorous process to be denied at the end of it? Why would I not just fly to Paris and jump on a boat and take her on a boat? Because it would appear that when you jump on a boat and you go across to England or wherever, Ireland, You've got this bloody right to remain nonsense, and that's the key here, and that's what the next video is going to be on with this Labour government reshuffle. That right to remain, that's put there to allow these immigrants to obviously come here. But if it's such a rigorous process for a Thai person to be allowed to come to Britain, then why are these other people just being allowed in? Because it's part of an agenda, and it always has been, and it always will be until people actually wake up to it. And people like Tommy Robinson, I don't even know if they'll be aware of that. It really does. It's weird because I only brought a couple of books with me, this being one of them. And it was a passage I came across about multiculturalism. Now, this book was published in 2019. Now, obviously I've mentioned the World Economic Forum quite a lot on this video. And it is the World Economic Forum that's driving it, and you'll see that just in a bit. But I want you to read a passage from this David Icke book from 6 years ago, almost to the month. This is a passage on multiculturalism, and it's titled The Exodus. Fear of terrorism has been increased on purpose by the massive movements of people into Europe from North Africa and the Middle and Near East. That started by 9/11. That's when the fear was ramped up. Total scam. There are many reasons why this has been made to happen, but the two main ones are diluting individual cultures and traditions of Europe and the omnipresent divide and rule as incomers and indigenous populations are set at war with each other. How can you deny that passage there? The plan is to delete sovereign countries and divide them into regions ruled by superstates like the EU, which would themselves be ruled by the world government. A continuing sense of culture, history and tradition are major problems for the elite because they know this would generate profound resistance to destroying countries and bringing in their regionalised cultural fusion and tyranny, and yet another expression of divide and rule. So you have the cultural identity in Europe being systematically eroded by introducing a completely different culture on a mass scale. Rockefeller insider Dr. Richard Day knew this was coming in 1969 as part of the transformation of human society. Now, this guy was so prophetic that I can remember the first time I read it, it was absolutely unbelievable. Even at that time, it was unbelievable. Now it's just mind-blowing. He said there would be mass movements, and this is in 1969, mass movements work for the Rockefeller Foundation, they're involved in everything, subordinate to the Rothschilds, to be mass movements and migratory without roots in their new locations because traditions are easier to change in a place where there are a lot of transplanted people as compared to trying to change traditions in a place where people grew up and had an extended family where they had roots. And I've mentioned it before, like, they say that the Germans never got into Britain in the 1940s for one reason, and that was because there was a tight-knit community. Everybody knew each other. That is gone. The Frankfurt School of Social Engineering, founded by the Zionists in the 20s, I mean, people like Edward Bernays, they must be laughing, wanted huge immigration to destroy national identity. This migration crisis did not happen by accident. It's created by terrorism. They just, whatever country they want to move people out of, they'll bomb it. It's as simple as that. Excuse me. But by design, there was the easily predictable cause and effect of creating mass death, destruction and mayhem in Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria and elsewhere. Enormous numbers of people were sure to seek refuge from the fear and violence, and the only direction for such escape was north into Europe. And that's why they set up a benefit system that's as lax as what it is, because they know it will attract poorer people, and it really is. It's I mean, you have to hand it to them. Might not like them very much, but you do have to hand it to them. What they've done to our spirit and our consciousness to bring it down is just, it's amazing. But that alone was not enough for the elite in transforming European culture, and they added to the genuine refugees of war who need and deserve our help a far, far greater number who were using the plight of the genuine to transplant themselves into Europe for purely economic and personal reasons. This may be understandable when they seek to leave current a state of Western-led created deprivation, but it's still a fact, and the word refugees is used when the great majority are not. Look at the pictures of the hordes of people walking the migrant trails, and you see that families and children are the serious minority compared to the domination of young adult men. A breakdown of unauthorised migrants arriving in Europe by sea in 2015 reveals that 58%, this was in 2015, 58% were adult males, 17% were adult females, and 25% were minors under ages 18 years of age, which they will now themselves be adults. Most of those arriving in Germany had no passport or paperwork to confirm their origin, but figures from the UN Refugee Agency reveal that
Of the more than 180,000 migrants arriving in Italy by sea in 2016, almost a fifth were from Nigeria, followed in number by those from Sudan, Gambia, Ivory Coast, Guinea, Somalia, Mali, Senegal and Bangladesh. Mass immigration is overwhelmingly not about supporting those fleeing war in Syria and Libya. Do people really think that the elite care about migrants? I don't think they do. They're just pawns into a game in them. And it's a virtue signalling operation they use. See, this is what they're really good at. They're good at using people's decency and empathy against them. Because they don't have any decency and empathy themselves, it's easy to use that against others. And I mean, you'll have seen that in everyday life. Like a kind person that's not got much of a backbone is going to get walked over the top of, and certainly someone that trades their freedoms for security is certainly going to do that. But this is starting to get serious now, because like I've just outlined, there is an agenda here between what these people have to go through and what I've just read in that book. That should tell you that it's open for certain people and certain people only, because certain people are part of the plan. I'm not sure what the plan is for Asia. I mean, well, I know what the plan is for China, but here seems to be, I don't know if they've learned some lessons from Vietnam possibly in doing business with the white man. No, I don't know. Maybe they're out on their own. I've not really determined yet what it is. I've not been here long enough, I don't think. But it does show you that, when I worked at Universal Credit, there was, I used to see, like, there was all this right to remain system, and that was what, it didn't matter what country you came from, as long as you applied through that, you get to stay and get your benefit. But yet there was always, it would be usually people from this part of the world, Indian couples, etc., where they would have to phone up every month because their partner wasn't entitled to any universal credit because they weren't allowed in the country. And it didn't happen that often, but when it did, it was usually with Indian families. And I remember thinking at the time, well, if we've got that for them, why have we not got it for others? And the right to remain should be scrapped. It should be right to remain based on the need for asylum. That's what it should be called, because it's not for asylum seekers, it's just for anybody. It's a human rights bloody loophole. And that's one of the things that's going into the next DWP video, how it needs to change. But it's people are, and I get it, like I do. I wanted to come out of the UK, and I've spoke to people here that have lived in the UK for 17 years. A Thai lad I was talking to the other night there, and he said he'd never go back because it's like the Soviet Union now. People just want, as long as they can sort of shut the doors and put their heating on, have their food and their comforts, they don't really want to know what's happening. And then there's other people who do want to know it, but are a wee bit angry about it, and they maybe think that they're going and supporting Tommy Robinson at a demonstration on the 13th of September is a good idea. I myself would not, because again, when you look into his background, it's a very dangerous proposition when it comes to these people, and it really is. And they are absolutely desperate to stir up a third world war, but they're also running for their lives as well, because they know that, I mean, the governments that have came and went over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I would say that's almost unprecedented in England, or Britain, whatever. But it's happening now, and it's happened again. I mean, that Liz Truss, she didn't last longer than a bloody, what was it, like a cabbage or something like that. And then you've got Liz Kendall, she's gone now as well. So they're obviously running for their lives in some way. However, they look to people like Tommy Robinson, who they know hate Muslims. He says he doesn't, but he hates their way of life. I don't hate their way of life. I've spoke to a lot of nice Muslims. Some of the nicest people I've ever met have been Muslims, and they've got very high values. And people like him need to understand that there's an extreme Muslim, just as there's an extreme Christian, but there's also good ones as well. And it actually annoyed me, because this demonstration of his that's coming up, he had the bloody cheek. Now this lad, this is what made me realise he's probably got more eyeballs than he has brain cells, because he put out a message to say that anyone who was going to attend his rally, and I think it's the 30th of September, not to drink too much, keep it nice and low key. And I'm thinking, well, what is this, mate? Is this a wedding? What is it? Is it a function of some kind that you want to keep low key? No, it's not. It's a demonstration. So why is alcohol even a bloody part of it in the first place? Because it shouldn't be a part of it. Not to make a better world anyway. I mean, if you want to have a drink after you've done the demonstration, fair enough. but I wouldn't be drinking before it. But this is the point. He started the English Defence League. They're a group of bloody football hooligans, and their Scottish counterparts are no different. Maybe there's some decent people within it that thought they were fighting for a better world, but they've all been disbanded now. They're just used and abused. It's always the same. They keep an eye on these movements and these people, and then they go in and they offer them, obviously, a way out of, well, the financial freedom, we'll call it what it is. I mean, a lot of people take financial freedom for themselves over the care of everyone else. I myself would not, which is why I do these videos. Now, like I say, I looked into some of Tommy Robinson's stuff, like, and again, it was a wee while since I'd read it, and it was just to basically look into who was funding this guy. Now, I came across a Philadelphia-based think tank. Now, see, the minute you see the word think tank of any kind, governmental, non-government organised, anything, you know that the people behind these think tanks are trying to change reality and society in real time. That's why they fund so much money. Now, Tommy Robinson's had a substantial amount of funding from people in very, very high places. So the Middle East Forum, it's called, acknowledges it has spent about 60,000, which is roughly £47,000 on Robinson's legal fees and demonstrations staged in London earlier this year. A senior MEF executive has been closely involved in preparations for the weekend's march, though this think tank said she was there in her personal capacity. Right, okay. A US tech billionaire by the name of Robert Shulman, who just happens to be involved with Trump, another guy that's supposed to be saving the world for terrorism. Nonsense. Controlled by Israel also. Israel again were behind 9/11. Provable fact. Watch the video of the dancing Israelis, and you'll see it all goes back to Israel, which means it all goes back to Rothschild. And these people, these are just the people they write about. These are the people beneath. So, and he helped pay for Robinson, this Shulman guy, to be employed in 2017 by a right-wing Canadian media website, the Rebel Media, on a salary of about $5,000 a month, which is, I mean, that's £5,000, and it's obviously that's a lot of money for people. And how could you turn it down? I could, like, but there you go. A small Australian right-wing group, Australian Liberty Alliance, it's not actually that big, said it's helped fund Robinson, but it didn't disclose how much. And then there was another New York-based think tank, the Gateston Institute, has published a successive act supporting Robinson's cause. And then you've got places like the David Horowitz Freedom Centre. He's been funded by influential right-wing donors for years now. And he's got Rolexes, all sorts of things. And this guy's got no... And I mean, I know he's on Jordan Peterson and all the rest of it, like, but he's got... And his name's not even bloody Tommy Robinson, as I've said before. It's Stephen Yaxley Lennon or whatever it is. I mean, why would you not just use if you're telling the truth, just choose your own name, show your face and use your own name to protect himself? Well, from what? If you're telling the truth, you don't need protection. The truth protects you. The Guardian actually revealed in 2014-16 the returns show they received a total of almost $5 million from several millionaire donors. And the MEF received $792,000 from a foundation led by Nina Rosenwald, the co-chair of American Securities Management, once dubbed the sugar mama of anti-Muslim hate. She's actually from a very prominent New York family who are very, 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 very successful. The DHFC received $1.6 million from 5 wealthy benefactors, one of whom is believed to be among the biggest ever donors to the Republican Party. Gates has received more than $2 million in donations, including $250,000 from the Mercer Family Foundation, which is funded by Donald Trump's top donor Robert Mercer and run by the billionaire's daughter Rebecca. So there you go, so there's another connection. All three think tanks have been repeatedly accused of stoking anti-Islam sentiment in the West and spreading false information about rural refugees in Europe, but all three have consistently denied being anti-Islam. Now, am I saying that there aren't dangerous people within these immigrants that are coming across? Absolutely not. There are very dangerous people, which is why it needs to be tightened up. It really, really does, and it needs to be scrutinised. I mean, the benefit system is going to have to change, but I'll go into that in the next video. So there was a clustered focus on Tommy Robinson's case, and late May suggests that Russian-linked accounts, right? So his arrest is a clear opportunity to amplify political division, both the UK and abroad, said Brett Schaefer, a social media analyst at US-based ASD. Now, what I came across as well, actually, there was actually evidence to suggest that a lot of these accounts were bots that were appearing to be in Russia, which apparently weren't. Now, that's the modus operandi of the people that run places like Britain and America. They're dancing it here while it's happening there. So that's something you need to watch out for. So I wouldn't actually buy into that. Not that I trust Vladimir Putin or anything like that. Like, Fiaz Mughal, the founder of Telmama, which records anti-Muslim hate crimes, described the US and Russian support for robbers as foreign interventionism. Well, what else can you call it, really, I suppose? It should alarm anyone in the country who values the democratic principles in which our country are founded. Absolutely, I would agree with that. And it's just, I mean, it's just funds for people. See, these think tanks, this is why they're funded, because they're funded by the big, I mean, and you look into where a lot of these donors are coming from with these think tanks, there's just absolutely no way you'll find out. In August 2017, it was revealed the Times that Shillman had been providing finances to British far-right activist Tom by helping to pay his five-figure sales, I've already mentioned. And then in January 21, it was revealed by Open Secrets that Shillman paid nearly $214,000 to help Dutch politician Geert Wilders pay for his successful legal defence and indictment for hate speech against Muslims and general Moroccans in particular. Geert Wilders has been called the Trump of Holland. See, this is how they do it. They knew that the human spirit was going to start waking up, but they were going to try and thwart that. Now, if people want to sit about and watch shite on telly and net for whatever, that's fine. But don't say you want a better world while you're letting your mind turn to jelly. Well, this type of thing's going on. And if you think that, well, I don't actually need to think now, because Tommy Robinson's on the scene, he's having a demonstration, so what we'll do is we'll show up there, we'll have a drink, jolly old time, and that'll put our support in, we'll come back to do what we're doing. It is pointless, absolutely pointless. This is why demonstrations never work. In fact, the only one I've ever seen that remotely worked was a few years ago in Turkey. And what they did was, instead of going up and shouting and screaming and getting drunk, they had a silent protest. So it was basically showing people, it was showing the Turkish government that they weren't going to engage with their tyranny using violence. They were going to stay silent, and their mere presence in that square that night was to show that they were fighting against the tyranny without using violence. Now I thought that was a great thing at the time. I thought that's just absolutely brilliant. But we don't seem to do that because, see, the thing about the British police is, in Britain, they're trained to deal with angry people. It's like what John Lennon said, it's like you can't be angry with them because that's what they're trained for. What you need to use with them is humour. Humour and no fear. Humour and no fear. For people that run on fear or who are themselves governed by fear, if you start using no fear and humour against such a person, you're going to find very quickly that person's going to cave, especially if you look them in the eye. And that's what we need to start doing, is looking people in the eye, because when you look at some of these bloody funds, I mean, there's the Gateston Institute's personal include. Nina Rosen was already mentioned. Nomi Perlman, she was a vice president. John Bolton, the former US ambassador to the United Nations, who was involved in 9/11 again, served as Gates chairman from 2000 when he resigned to become national security advisor for Donald Trump. Bolton was paid at least $310,000 by the organisation. Its authors include Noni Darwish, Alan Dershowitz, who was obviously the lawyer of Jeffrey Epstein, if you'll remember, who stood by Jeffrey Epstein, an utter scumbag of a man. This is behind it. These are the type of, this is what I'm saying. It's such a small world when it comes to these people, and they laugh at us behind closed doors because so many are close to it, and it's not. So many people know it. I can see it in their eyes when I say it to them, because it makes them so angry. It's their subconscious mind and the conscious mind of the anger, the fact that they've been programmed and they know it. But it's not the fact that they're angry or that they know it. It's the fact that they're too scared to look at it or to speak up about it or to say it to anyone or in it. And that it has to start with a dialogue. It really does. I mean, if you don't start with a dialogue, how can you change anything? If you don't know if there's a game being played, how can you change it? You just don't think you're part of the game. You think, oh, we're free, this is just the way it is, there's nothing we can do. But all these people are doing these things behind the bloody scenes. And it's absolutely unbelievable why people don't want to know and don't care. I mean, I had my sister on me just not only, she's very concerned about the influx of people that are coming in to the country to apparently be disrespectful to our values, as I've already mentioned, is not going to fly. But that being said, there is a lot of fear porn, because they know that if they can keep people in fear, they keep people off the frequency. It's like it's the beat of life, it's the connection to everything that's your spirit. If they keep you in doubt and fear, that connection's lost. There is no connection. You'll never try anything if you're always in doubt and fear, or you'll never try and understand something if you're always in doubt and fear. But if you're in fear, with knowledge you can expel that fear. I've said that before, and anything I get scared of, that's what I do, try and find out about it, try and get knowledge about it, and it's not scary then. And it becomes not scary, and it actually becomes quite, not laughable, but something is seen as not as big a problem as what it was before you had the knowledge of it. So it's up to people if they want to say that Donald Trump's a saviour, or Geert Wilders is a saviour, Tommy Robinson and Jordan Peterson, all these people that are wanting to obviously to serve the world, then that's absolutely fine. But it's not if, it's when it goes wrong at the end of it. Because I mean, I know they've parted ways now, Elon Musk and Donald Trump. But I think that was for the movie screen, because people were starting to make the AI connection, which is Israel again. Elon Musk. I mean, that's where they're building the main base that's going to control this technological sub-reality. But there was a lot of people were starting to say, well, hold on a second here, what's going on? And there was a riff that was just unlikely that forced them out, and it's just on the face of things. Or see, it's not connected the way those conspiracy theorists say it. But okay, it's fine. Just a coincidence, nothing to worry about. It's just a little. It happens all the time, and it does happen all the time. But when you think about where we're headed into a police state, and it's because of things like this. Because ignorance people say money is the root of all evil. I think ignorance is. Ignorance is probably the root. It's in every tyranny, every tyrant, every bloody overlord, emperor, you name it, that's ever been in control of anyone. It's always been run on fear. Always. It can't be done any other way, and it comes from ignorance. I mean, people, you could watch endless documentaries on North Korea. I mentioned it earlier. How ignorant they are to not all of them. Some are starting to question now because there's information being sent to them. But they even have, you can watch them when they're sitting at a dinner table discussing it, and there's no sense discussing it because we can't do anything about it. But they can. That's the point. And then I seen this just when I was researching this video. 5 armed police officers arrested Comic writer Graham Lennon at Heathrow Airport for tweets about trans activists. So you can't even, I mean, comedians bloody run on, a lot of them run in dark humour, and we like dark humour. It's funny, it's important to laugh. But they're killing the joy of this place. Not this place, but that place now, I suppose. And it's very, very sad. It's and again, it leads back to the ignorance question. How many people are actually opening their minds to the greater powers that run the world? I don't think there's anywhere near enough, because people are so frightened of what's behind it because of what people may have said. But again, if you get the knowledge of it, it doesn't scare you anymore. You realise that there's nothing to be scared of. Nothing to be scared of, honestly. And the more you fear, the more you'll attract something to you. I've explained loads of times, what you fear, you'll attract. It's like a shark. A shark's you're in the water, right? And you've got a sore leg and it's bleeding, and you're trying to get away, and you see a shark. There's a predatory response that triggers in the shark that tells that is prey that's dying and it can be fed. So that's how it treats it. So there's not any discrimination there. However, apparently, and it's easier said than done this, if a shark attacks, all you need to do is show no fear and push it away in its nose, and it will leave you alone. Now that would be very difficult to do in such a situation, but it doesn't change the fact that if you don't show the fear or the doubt, because it's a frequency, it's like these guys, these disgusting idiots that are into children, like, honestly, they pick out the weak one. They pick out the one that's not, and it's just so predatory. Like, don't pick out the child that's full of life and full of happiness and vibrancy. No chance. They want nothing to do with that, because they know they can't do anything with it. They can't connect with it. They want the low person because they're low. Everything is just a frequency and a balance, man. And in the Matrix, the Matrix, it's just a game. This is a game. And if you know the codes, you can get through it. Absolutely no two ways about it. And I'm starting to, obviously I've learned a lot. I've only been here 2 weeks, but what I've learned here about desire and about like what we've got. I mean, there's kids outside this hotel bloody doing civil engineering in their bare feet, roadworks. I took out a pair of shoes to a kid, like, because he didn't even put them on. I think they just prefer, he must have kept them for it at home or whatever, like. But it's obviously a good thing to do to respect the country. It's my brother that told me that, try and be generous, which I am anyway. So not that I would film it or anything like that, like, but I'm just saying that it shows you that health and safety back and at home is just an absolute disgrace. And I mean, they've got a cheek to sit about telling everybody they want to keep everybody safe at work when all this shite's going behind the scenes. And I mean, Britain's a tinder waiting to spark. And I hate to say it, but we no longer live. You no longer live in the world that you think you do. That's gone. I mean, and that's actually what's been really refreshing about here, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's a wee bit backward. It's maybe not as clean in places, but it's kind of like what life was maybe in like the 80s and the 90s. You need to get back to using coins and money again. It's quite difficult actually when you've been used to using, well, me, my card, but most people with their phones now. You actually need to go to the bank and lift the money out, and you need to use the coins up, or they just build up. It's just like what it used to be like, and people do seem to be happier here, even the poor ones. I've been around shanty towns, or one shanty town that's quite close to here, and they're still happy. It's like they've got nothing. Like I said, they've got shoes on their feet, they sleep outside, some of them. And yet, that's what I'm saying, like after I gave that kid those shoes, I put a brand new pair of my own ones on, and the work they were doing, it ended up coming up over the trainers. It was just like this sandy, concretey water, the pure white trainers absolutely ruined them. And if it had happened in Scotland, I would definitely have been reduced to tears. Absolutely no two ways about it. But I just thought to myself, I just didn't care. It was like, he's not got any in his bloody feet. I can just go and change these into another new pair, which I did. And it's just being grateful for what you've got. It's just a pair of trainers. It doesn't bloody matter. Like, it doesn't matter at all. And it has, and I'm being grateful for this experience. But that doesn't change the fact that if things were to get heavy in the UK, I would definitely come back to defend. Stephen said the same. Not fight, but to defend. Because fighting it's just a disease that spreads. But you need to defend yourself, I'm sure you'll agree. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.